the well I
Welcome everyone to our third annual Solstice event. This here is Solstice 2022, The Unveiling. And let's just acknowledge these guys back here to start off because we know you're probably a little distracted and excited. Here's the gong wall. We have a number of gongs on this wall. We have a couple wind gongs, an earth gong, and a number of planetary gongs. And we play them all together. We alchemize all these beautiful sounds and vibrations to serve in this space. So bringing it back in from the gongs to the four beings in front of you today, we'd love to start by introducing ourselves.
I'm Ashley.
I'm Sundance.
I'm Karen.
And I'm Josh.
I guess, and from here, we'd like to dive into the present moment, I guess, and what is being created or created through us in the space.
Yeah.
I'll throw that over to you and see where it goes.
Well, this has been a journey that I could become very long-winded about. But when I look at this, I can't help but think about all of the years that have accumulated in this, in creating this, from the very first time I got my first gong to all of the people coming in and us all sitting here together for this whole process. And you know what I'm actually thinking about the most? And I was talking to Josh about this when we were in session. And I was talking to Josh about when you just planted the seed about what if I was okay with other people playing my gongs.
Madness.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, his gongs. Let's just say by this time, he started out with 2 and then we accumulated a few together.
That's right, yeah.
Still his gongs.
So, well, I always looked at like that sound creation earth gong. It was very much there's just a bonding moment when that sound creation earth gong was found its way into my life. And I knew that when I committed to getting that gong, I felt like an internal commitment that I'm going to do this in a more professional but organic way, you know, and that I was really going to delve into my creativity and my being and explore my own song. And so I became very attached to the gongs.
And you know what's really beautiful about today is we just talked to Ashley about this. You guys won't have seen it quite yet, but later in the segment, the first person to play any of these gongs in this this step of doing these professional recordings.
Yeah, this context.
With the excellent sound that Dave and his team are providing is Ashley.
And Josh also played too.
Oh,
Yeah, that's true.
I wasn't in the room, so surprise.
Yes. Yeah, I actually played, and when she got into her rhythm, I came behind and I played a little bit with her and then ended it with a little chime. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So right now I just want to acknowledge the beauty of that and what we are creating, because Sundance just shared about that was one of his original gongs and now this is no longer Sundance, nor Sundance and Karen. This is Sacred Compass Journey, and it's the 4 of us, all of us together as a collective. That's what Sacred Compass Journey is becoming. And I see that, I see that beautifully in that story, the story of the gong, and then we realize that the first time it's on this this quality of sound was Ashley and Josh playing the gongs. So yeah.
So one thing that I think that I wanted to touch on was about the possibility of what can occur in our lives in relationships and creating when we let go of certain identities and things that we're caught up in. And for me, it was the gongs. Not that I really thought at the time that was my identity, but I mean, I did a lot of gong bass. I ran a lot of ads for gong bass. And so obviously over time I became associated with it. But it wasn't until it was voiced, what if you let someone else play your gongs, or would you be open to that, that I really was like, there was just this bit, you know, inside of me that was just twisting with that. I didn't want to let that go. And we were in Moose Jaw, and we invited a friend to play actually that wind gong. And I remember watching him play the wind gong, and I just remember seeing how powerful it was for him to like pick up the mallet, hold it. And by the time he wasn't really like playing it that hard, he was playing it pretty soft, but by the end of it, like he was sweating, you know, because he felt just an intense amount of energy, you know, and it was like, that was a real first experience for me. And you planting that seed created this possibility. And there's an old saying that Josh and I are familiar with is what we can't do alone, we can definitely do together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah, and I think after that, when did you first, like when did we propose it to you? When did you first pick up those mallets?
Well, it wasn't actually a mallet that I picked up first. It was actually a bowl and the rubber mallet.
Okay.
That was, it was, honestly to say, it was pretty close to this time last year. It was around Christmas, and I don't know all the details, but I just remember you just saying, do you want to take a couple bowls home with you and just
Karen.
play with them, right? Like, I mean, this is just take these with you, right? And just play them. And I was very fortunate to have that opportunity and just sit in my living room and just play, and then have the solar and the heart, and they just flutter so well together. And it just like, how can I flutter these beautifully and just get into a rhythm of how these singing bowls just sound so beautifully. And it was great just to even have friends come over. Hey, come lay down, experience these bowls, right? And it was completely different from what I've ever done in my life, right? I remember the first time playing the gongs. I remember the phone call, Sundance. Hey, you want to come play the gongs? And I was like, are you serious? Yeah. And he just said, come on over. So I went over to his house, and he gave me 2 mallets, and he said, I'll see you in an hour.
You did,
and
right?
He left, and he goes, just play him as hard as you want, play him as soft as you want, just play him.
Yeah, I wanted you to experience the gongs without me watching you play the gongs.
Absolutely. Because for me, that just gave me so much more freedom too, right? Because the things that I had to work through to let go of is that identity of myself, which is you could classify it as shame or not being good enough in that sense. Me working through that has been a big part of this challenge.
Yeah.
To be here today, right? And with you being there, oh man, I would just be like, oh, I'm not doing it right, you know what I mean? Instead of being free to just play. So, yeah.
You know, that's the one beautiful thing about sacred sound for me, is like how forgiving these instruments can be with us. I love being able to show up imperfect and play these instruments and get this incredible sound. You know, you don't need any musical background to play these.
Can I pop in here? Can full show of hands, who before these kind of instruments had no musical background? Right? And I just love that, because this guy has a whole band history drumming. But I just love that we actually get to show first the people in this space, and now the people watching this, and it's going to grow and grow and grow, that you can do this too, right? And anyone that if you feel pulled towards an instrument, I always say, don't hold back, go get one and start playing it, because I think as humans, we're wired to connect with sound and vibration. And I think I can speak for myself. Oh, that's the mic. That there was a period of forgetfulness in my life, right? And I think the more we can come back to it, the more it's going to help us along this beautiful journey we're on. So I also want to ask Ashley about your first experience.
Playing the instruments?
The gongs or the bowl? Yeah, I guess.
Well,
it
started with a bowl too. It started with the Patience Bowl, which is it's a massive, beautiful bowl that you gifted me. It's a sacral bowl. I remember. I think it was the summer before last when you were still in your previous house, and you gifted me that bowl, and I was just like blown away. And then I collected a couple more and started utilizing them in my classes and in my personal meditation. And then from there, at one point, I remember, I don't know where we were, what we were doing, but I just remember you going, "Oh, are you going home with a gong?" I was like, "Am I?" And I did. And
right.
Yeah, it was one of the, it was a smaller wind gong, I think.
Yeah.
And so I got to sit with that a lot and start to kind of build a relationship or like a connection to the gongs. And then this. So it that was kind of my intro to the instruments.
Right. I forgot about the Patience Bowl because you had to run it and you had to be really patient to get it going.
I could get it going pretty quick, but
yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I love that bowl. It's it's a heavy sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you guys have anything you want to share about where we're kind of at currently with anything to add to that kind of part of the conversation, I guess?
Well, it's been, we're coming along, that's for sure. So what month was it when we decided to start this whole process? Was it July? Was it August? Somewhere in there.
The building?
Yeah, when we...
No, it was in May when...
Was it May when it was
first
proposed?
Yeah, when it first got proposed out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, right?
Maybe we can address why we haven't rushed to open up or any of that type of stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's fascinating how we came in May was the first idea where it was like, what if this, right? This possibility. And I keep sharing this because you just voiced it as, we just kind of sat there and went, the universe is calling us to task. And those are your words. And then, it came up with the agreement that we would take over officially August 31st. And then there was kind of this transition and we said August 1st. And then there was this transition month. And then we had a whole September schedule, yoga schedule. We did it all up, didn't we, guys? And then the road got closed down. The city was doing water work and the universe was just like, pause. And we initially thought, for a month? Oh, we'll just put September's schedule in October. But I really, I guess this kind of naturally leads into what we've been up to. It's like this building, this space called us in and what we want to create, but also what wants to be created through us. It's like a co-creation is the way I kind of see it right now. And is like, but first, this is what we're going to get there. But first, you're all going to dive into your own deep work. And then you're all going to dive into that together to really come into alignment, right? Because it's not just any one of us, it's all of us together. And there's a beautiful, freaking intense process that comes along with that.
Yeah, cue the shadow work.
Right? Excuse my voice, it's getting going here. And that's what we've been up to. And we've been so blessed that we've been able to receive that, take that time and space with what we've been able to co-create together. And I just really want to, I just want to voice the gratitude in that and the blessing that it's really been, even if, half the time I'm swearing at the intensity of it, so.
Yeah, this work really calls to me to do my own work. And I as we've been creating this, it's so interesting, because there's like my being, and then there's my personality, and then there's everybody else's personality and everybody else's way of being, and we're all coming together to try to sort this out, get it up and going, and to move forward. And that's been a very, I'll say, daunting task, but it's been so beautiful because of the awarenesses that have come forward in creating this. One thing that I've seen in relationships is to have a relationship, whether it be romantic, whether it be platonic, whether it be family, for it to be healthy and for it to have the sustenance to it, it requires certain work to be done, because even the simple things in life require conversations. And that's where, for myself, I can be passive. I might not always want to address something. It can be small, it can be big, or I might just not want to talk about it. But when we're in the center and we're creating what we're creating, communication is actually just learning to communicate with each other is it's like a healing journey in itself. Being able to have these conversations and talk about logistical things, but also talk about how we're all with the process ourselves, and not being like, we need to get this up and running, we need to get this open, but that we're creating it from our internal wealth, and we're doing the work on ourselves as we prepare to open and as we prepare to invite people in, that we're good, so people aren't stepping in all our shit.
Yeah.
What's been really beautiful, like the beautiful aspect of all that, is that we may have stuttered, or we may have fell, or may have kind of went off a path and not talked to each other for a bit.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's like being in a
or
band.
just kept it light, but we showed up every day for ourselves, and we showed up every day to be a part of this. And I think that is what's making this tribe, just to reevaluate what you're saying, what makes this so powerful is how we've come together to do that. Because this hasn't been easy. It's not just putting wood up on a wall, and it's not just hanging a gong, right? And it's not putting paint and inviting people in, right? This is us coming together, not as bosses, not as friends, but as family. And it has been tough, and it has been really beautiful, but every single day we've shown up. And I just want to acknowledge all of us in this room here today, that we showed up, that we face our shadows, that we work through these things, so that when we do serve, it is coming from a place of pure heart. And that's what I love about this. And it doesn't matter what our shadows are, we still come from a place of love. And I just want to just say, that's just been the huge journey of this so far.
There's an incredible amount that we can get from that. That component that you just shared about is, for me, exactly why we do the work, is because we're sitting with people on the other side of this. We're inviting people in on the other side of this. And when people want to enter into the work, or when people are asking questions about themselves, it helps if they're sitting with someone that's maybe at one time asked those questions about themselves and asked those questions to their colleagues, and their friends. Because I know for myself, I want to be able to give my very best every time. And be fearless in the area of showing the person that's sitting in front of me who I really am. Because that serves us both, So, yes, you three are strong teachers.
Maybe I'm going to voice this now. I was going to say later on, I don't believe, because we talk about coaching a lot, and I don't think we could have hired better coaches if we'd gone out and paid for coaches. He loves all these coaches, and there's all of these brilliant coaches that he knows and he's worked with, and I'm like, I don't know. I think right here in this room,
of course.
I was thinking that thought today, and I thought I was going to bring it up in our piece, but yeah, I just think how it's aligned is so. I see the divine brilliance in it, mm-hmm. and it's freaking incredible. I just, there are moments that have literally taken my breath away. And I'm going to speak to this one because the first one, a little story here with, if you guys are, when we first found out that we were coming to taking over the center, we said, we will keep the yoga program, but we absolutely don't want to run it. And so we put it out to the universe, right? The most aligned person, I think, is the way how we voiced it. And then the very next day, do you want to? Ashley messaged and said,
well, at that time I was planning on moving to Regina, so I messaged Karen, and I said, hey, I'm going to be in Regina full time in September, and I've been looking at some different studios, and I just, there's some awesome spaces, but just nothing quite feels right for me yet. Could I teach a yoga class in your space? And then she offered me the program. And I was like, oh God, yes. Just boom, bang, everything just lined up so synchronistically, so amazingly. And now here we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, on our end, it was funny because you said I looked at my phone and you said that. And I said, Ashley would like to teach. And I looked over at him. We were in our chairs and he's like, let's just offer the whole program. And I was like, what? And then we messaged you back and then you said yes. And that I couldn't even breathe for 3 days straight. It was just, it was beautiful. It is beautiful. And, just thank you for being here. And for those of you who don't know Ashley, she has been running her own studio in Weyburn for years. So,
and that's how I first met Ashley. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I met Ashley. I went to a metaphysical store in Weyburn, and then I was walking around in the store, and I was like, "Hey, would you guys do a gong bath here?" And she said, "Yeah, I would. I would have to move all the shelving, but there's a yoga teacher in town. Her name's Ashley. I can get you in touch with her. Maybe she would want to do it there because sometimes she does this at her studio." And then I reached out and contacted you, and I thought you had a couple that were coming through that was doing some sacred sound work, and but we just stayed in contact, and then all the logistical stuff sorted it out, and I came out to Weyburn and did a gong bath and a cacao ceremony, and I loved your studio so much because of the, I just remember playing in the studio and singing, and actually your studio was primarily the reason I now mic, was because when I would sit in your studio, even though it was still full of people, it had a beautiful acoustic resonance in it.
Yeah.
And the drum and the way, like hitting the drum and hitting the rim, just the way that the sound filled the whole space was so powerful.
Yeah, I loved chanting in there too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started to, I'm like, I need to replicate that sound every time. I can't not always have that sound now, right?
I can't go back.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I also like the people that you had, like as clients and people that you had coming into the studios. I just saw how, just an amazing community that you created in Weyburn.
I loved my yoga people there. It was a beautiful community.
Yeah, and
Still love them.
so for me, when I was like when Karen said, she's asking if she can teach a class, and I'm just like, yeah, like just offer the whole thing, like just offer the whole program, because there's just no doubt in my mind how blessed we would be if you would be to accept that, right? And you did, and so
Joyfully.
it's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here because I really want to make sure we touch on. Yeah, I'm going to jump ahead to the kind of the people are like, "What's your vision?" or "Clear vision," and we've had some beautiful discussions about this over the past little bit here, and I voiced this before when we've had our conversations, but about Sacred Compass Journey. It's the most clear way I can put it is like the child, and it's the child of this tribe. And would you ever look at a little child and be like, I mean, we do. We're conditioned to, dad's an accountant, you're gonna be an accountant when you grow up, right? But no, absolutely not. So the way the energy around or what we wanna help come into creation is this being, the Sacred Compass Journey, that will be ever evolving, and it's like an adventure of discovery every day in that, right? And within that, as we help raise this child, in turn, I see that this being, this structure that will be created, that will take care of us, and within that structure, we absolutely will honor each individual's uniqueness. And right now we're figuring out how to do that in a balanced way that we're all connected to and devoted to the Sacred Compass Journey, but that we all get to express our individual uniqueness. And it's exciting, and I can see it coming into play in the physical. Like even down to, I know how the T4 is gonna look like now. It's an accounting term for, I think everybody gets a T4 if you have a job now, but work for somebody else. But how can we create this and spend so you guys can spend as close to all of your time in your area of genius and your area of magic that you want to.
Love that.
Right? And it's so that we're not, because I've seen this in the holistic industry, all these brilliant people, all these magical people, and everybody's then worrying about doing their individual taxes and their individual marketing. And I'm like, how do we consolidate that so that we're not recreating these because there's somebody who loves to do marketing, and can that person do marketing for this group of people, right? And I'm seeing it come into creation now in a way with what we're creating here. And we're pioneers in this. I haven't seen anybody else do it quite like how we're seeing it come yet anyways, right? And that's a big piece of why we're taking our time too. We will not rush this, right?
Yeah, this is not the typical structure.
No.
The way that we're going to be running, the way that we are running this, not going to be. It's in place now.
Yeah, operating, and now it's getting the pieces into like the physical business structure.
And it might sound a bit vague, but it's on its way. The way that we're creating this.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of years back, when COVID was kind of going on, I know, whatever, the word COVID can be whatever, but I had a vision. And that vision was like, I wasn't really happy with where I was working, and I had a vision of actually being a part of a center or a recovery center or a place with a bunch of holistic workers. And like, I mean, there wasn't a clear view of what I was envisioning. All I know is that I was going to be a part of a grander family here to offer service to people in a holistic way. I had no idea what that looked like. I just knew I had that vision. Fast forward a couple years, I'm sitting in a chair and we're doing it. And it is nowhere near being created the way it was kind of structured in my mind way back when, right? So it's just, I think it was more the feelings and our intentions and our purpose of what we're going. And then this is where we talk about it's being created together, the universe and us as we grow, and because as we grow, it grows. Right? And as we change, it changes. And it just becomes something so magical and something so pure because it is coming from within us. Right? And that's what I think is the greatest part. So,
Yeah.
What is the clear vision? Right? To me, it's just purpose. Right? And we're doing it. And I love it.
Yeah, we all hold each other in balance.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, that was just that was what really excited me about this opportunity opening up. Yeah, I have a very traditional background in yoga as far as like, you know, people I've trained with, and I think that's really beautiful, but I'm just so not traditional. I love the freedom to be able to shift and expand and adapt and, you know, just move with your intuition and what the moment calls for. So to just work with a group of people where we're just all, I feel like we're all just really in alignment in that way, to that like constant evolution and being not just well, I shouldn't say comfortable because it's maybe not always comfortable, but being okay with and even like enjoying sometimes the fun, chaotic process of it all and taking joy in that, you know, and just like going for the ride. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
always expecting the unexpected.
Yeah.
That is the only time I will agree that expectations are serve us, is when you expect the unexpected.
Yeah, because so many good things happen then, you know?
Yeah.
Like just when you can just stay open and move forward.
So yeah, I guess I feel like we're kind of coming to a close here.
Yeah, for this portion anyways.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw out their opening date. Not sure yet.
We'll let you know when we know.
Right? Yeah, and we do, and that's how we've been operating too. Like I say to you guys, I'll message you guys at the most random times and be like, I just saw something, it just downloaded, or it appeared, and that's the beauty of it, is we get to share when we know, and we get to trust divine timing.
Yes.
Right? Because that is how we get to create the most ease in our lives, is waiting. And I love the analogy of a surfboard, that you're on your surfboard and your shore's way out there and you're like, well, I could paddle my way with all this struggle, or I just pause and then the wave comes and I catch the wave in. And I love that analogy. And so you get to the same place, probably around the same time to shore, but in a very different energy, right? So, yeah. Did you guys want to voice anything else in closing, or?
No, I'm good.
We're pre-recording this and streaming it on the 21st. So by the time the 21st comes around, I think we'll have announced that we're going to Costa Rica.
Oh, yes. We're just going to throw that in here too.
I think so. Just why
Perfect.
not? Why not? Why not on the spot?
Why not? Okay.
Because it'll be current.
Caribbean, Costa Rica, 2023.
Yes. Do we have the dates?
It's February 19th until 26th
Yes.
is the retreat date.
Yeah, let's throw that out there and see, like, did you just hear that and are like, oh my gosh, I need to go and I don't know why? You should probably give us a chat or give us a call.
Can you tell us a little bit about the resort?
Okay, yeah.
Because you've been there.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I taught a retreat there back in 2018 or 19, one of the two. And it's very interesting to me because that's the first yoga retreat I ever taught. Absolutely fell in love with the place. I love Costa Rica. Like the jungle is just so vibrant and rich. There's so much wildlife. There's so much ecological diversity. And through conversation, I discovered that Karen's been there too. Like
Weird.
Yeah, right? And it's not like this is like a massive retreat center. It's an eco lodge essentially that's just kind of like tucked on the edge of the jungle, right next to the ocean. Really simple but beautiful accommodations, and it's just all about yoga and good food and community and connecting to nature and each other. This place absolutely stole my heart. I don't even really know what else to say about it right now. We're going to have a lot more details to come, but it is a very magical space, and I think we're going to have some really amazing offerings there.
Yeah, I think it's it's evolving as well, just like all the rest of this is, and with this co-creation that you're open to, so we're all going to be there, and we're just starting to figure out what that magic is going to look like. So, and I did just want to put a little extra emphasis, because you kind of just said it quickly, the food, because the food is amazing. For the foodies, it's really good.
And like, if you're like an animal person, I'm not sure if they still do, but I'm pretty sure like they have a resident sloth. Like there's howler monkeys everywhere. Like there's amazing, like vibrant birds. So if you're a nature person, it is the place to go to. It is so magical.
The beautiful thing about this is like the spirit of what we're doing here, we're going to be doing down there too. You know what I mean? That's the most beautiful thing about like being who we are and having the people in our lives that we do. I'm looking forward to meeting people that I don't even know yet that are going to come with us. You know, that's the beautiful thing about like the possibility of relationships. You know, so.
And I found the people of Costa Rica to be so warm, and so inviting, and you can tell they just like really love their country, and they seemed like really excited to like show it. You know what I mean? So it's just a really beautiful energy down there. I love the culture. Really ties into the community.
Awesome.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm warrior. Hey, I'm warrior. Hey, I'm warrior. Okishidake, Rashinabe, Okishidake. Rashinabe, hey, I'm a warrior. Hey, I'm Okishidake, Rashinabe, Okishidake, Rashinabe, hey, I'm a warrior. Hey, Okishidake, Rashinabe, Okishidake, Rashinabe.
Look at us.
Look at this.
We're somewhere different. Every year we're actually somewhere different.
We are. Let's not dive in too deep here. Just a quick intro. In our physical day right now, we have done a group drum circle with the four of us, and now it's the two of us sitting down. And my intention with this piece, which I roped you into, was how could we bring in this energy of being completely vulnerable and courageous and uniquely us? And I was like, well, what could I do? And this is it. I'm not gonna say too much more. This is what we like to share in ceremony.
Yeah.
And I get nervous sometimes. Sometimes you guys will see what I'm about to do. I'll just preface it. I like to call it weaving magic. I get nervous and I won't do it. I'll sit in stillness because I get nervous. So I'm gonna put it out there on the internet for everyone to see. And then this is me moving forward in my unique way.
Yeah, I definitely sense your movement in ceremony because it's, the lights are all down low, and I'll be singing, and I'll see you, what I call weaving. You might call it the same thing, but it's not even so much what you call it, but like how you're being. Yeah, and that's really holding space in ceremony too, right? So you definitely didn't rope me into doing this. I want to do this. So we're gonna play a song called Sacred Compass, or The Sacred Compass, or Sacred Compass.
Still undecided. That's
Still
okay.
undecided, yeah.
It's okay.
So, but this was a song that's been developed. It feels like this song's been developed over a couple of years, to be honest with you, and has developed into what it is. And we're actually going to be releasing it on Spotify pretty soon. And it's going to sound just a bit different because we have a whole other bunch of ambiences that we've included into the song. But for this, it's going to be straight up and very natural and raw. So you can do your thing and I can, well, we can both sail away. Okay?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, oh, ah, yeah, oh, ah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, ah, oh, ah. Yeah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, ah. Yeah, yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, eh, oh, ah. Yeah, hey, ah, ooh, ah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, ah, oh, ah. Yeah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, ah. Yeah, ooh, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah. Yeah, hey, ah, oh, ah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, 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 Akio, Akio, hey, hey, Akio, Akio, hey, hey, Akio, hey, 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 Akio. Akio, hey, hey, Akio, Akio, hey, hey, Akio, hey, 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 Akio, Akio, hey, hey, Akio. Akio,
Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Josh.
I guess we're gonna talk a little bit about vulnerability and maybe give a little bit of gifts that we like to do with ourselves, right? So I'm gonna open up and talk about a little bit what makes me vulnerable and what scares me a little bit. And it's kind of an environment that we're sitting in, not the gongs themselves. Playing the gongs actually makes me feel really safe and powerful, but they're recording right now. And I'm just gonna speak that, hi, the cameras are on, right? And being me in front of the cameras like kind of scared me. It kind of scares me to the point that it's really vulnerable for me to be truly natural in these situations because my face isn't, or I'm not presenting myself to the world like this. Like this is the second time I've been in this type of environment presenting myself to the world. It's a real vulnerable situation for myself because I'm usually just dealing with people one-on-one, or I'm dealing with a small group of people where I'm already comfortable. I've worked through what I'm working through right here today, and I'm comfortable to be in those positions. So this is a vulnerable space for me right now.
Whole new world.
Yeah, and you're gonna tell us a little bit about your vulnerability.
Yeah. So this is a practice that I just typically do by myself, like in the studio, especially if it's empty. I love breath work and I love chanting, and I find it so cathartic. But this is very different than like something I would probably offer within a session, unless I maybe like invited a client to like join in with me. But yes, for me, this is breath work. This is catharsis. Like you said, these instruments, there's something about them that they just have such a power, and they put me just like right in the moment, right in my body. Yeah, we're just gonna play with that today.
Mm-hmm. And this is something that you do by yourself.
This is something I do by myself, like pretty much exclusively.
Right, and I've only heard you through the walls.
Yeah, exactly. And like ideally too, like if there's other people in the building, I'll like kind of like sometimes, but typically if like the building's completely empty, I'm like, yes, this is my time. Because then I can just go, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna really do my best just to let myself, you know, go today.
Let's go like nobody's in the building.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
beautiful. All right, let's do this.
This is the earth gong too, which is, oh, I just love this gong. I love the earth gong.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you feel like everyone disappeared?
Pretty much. Yeah, I would say like 90%.
90%, other than me running beside you, hitting stuff?
Yeah. And there's just that gentle awareness. But oh man, yeah, that felt good.
It does. Yeah. It does feel good. It's so uplifting. Yeah. Good job.
Hey everyone, I'm Sundance. Me and Josh are going to sit down and have a conversation about his involvement with Sacred Compass and what he's been creating and how you got here. How you got here in the first place. I know we go back a few years.
Quite a few years.
And we've sat down and we've sat down in this format before, not in this building before.
No.
So
Not with that before.
no, we're sitting in a whole new room. And I wanted to acknowledge you first and foremost for building these gong stands. This wood casing that is holding up these gongs that you've
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was even fun, like how we all came together to create that, because it wasn't just, hey man, I did the cutting and I put the stuff up, right? But the vision came from what do we want on the wall, and we all had our feedbacks of how it all would look, right? And we even went, you, me, and Karen went to Lowe's together and picked out every single piece of wood to make sure that it was like really beautiful, because we wanted to make something really special for this room. So that was just a real fun adventure to have us all do that. And then for me to just sit in here 2 days of cutting wood and putting it up on a wall and watching it come together was just really, really wonderful.
It's awesome. I remember watching different gong practitioners from around the world and their gong setups and seeing like 2-tier gong setups and being like, wouldn't that ever be cool and awesome to be able to play on something like that? Just because of like the dynamic range with the gongs and being able to play so many gongs is pretty powerful. It's pretty phenomenal. It's a rarity that we have this, and it's definitely a blessing.
It is truly a blessing.
So yeah, we've sat down and talked like this before on like a podcast format at the other studio, but it feels like we're doing this again, but for the first time.
Yes, it does feel like that, and you know, even the emotions that come from that, like, still feel like it's the first time. For whatever reason that is, it still hits me. Right, I was doing actually really good most of the day. It felt nice and light and free, and then I still come sit in this type of environment, and just for whatever reason, my stomach starts to turn. Right, and just to be in this vulnerable spot talking about myself. right? And that's where it is. It's like I get to talk about me, and that sends shivers. And I work with people, and they feel the same sensations. It's the funniest thing. They get into the room, they feel fine, but now they're going to start talking about themselves, and they get that flutter in their stomach, and it's easier to discuss me with your situations than it is to discuss my situations with you, right? So even though I work on the other side, I still work on myself on that side. So it's kind of this weird balance going off inside of me. So I just wanted to acknowledge like my guts and what they're doing. And now that I spoke about it, feels way better. Right? It's just that simple.
It's the beauty of showing up in our truth.
That's right.
At the exact same time that all that's happening, where I'm also working on myself and doing this with you. This is, it still seems somewhat unnatural to do this.
Yeah.
But I love being this way. I love being able to create this. How did this start exactly? Like, how did you end up here?
How did I end up here?
How did you end up here in this chair with us sitting here having this conversation? What took place?
Well, I think there was quite a long period of time that took place for me to get here. Right? Would you like the shorter version or longer version? Because like there's so much that got me here. Like I could just go into my story and just really start to dabble of how I am the way I am today, which has gotten me here, right? And
I think actually you just answered the question. I think you should just go for it.
Just go for it. Just go for it. Recovery came not by a want, but at a time where it was a life or death kind of situation. Like last year, we talked about addiction, right? And the background for me is that I was an active user for about 12 years of my life. And that's the life or death situation, is that I had to come into recovery or else I was just going to die on the streets, right? I was going to leave my kids, family, everyone behind, because I really didn't care about me or the world. And so it was like a life or death situation that it was either do this or die. And it was just nice that certain situations, like ending up in jail for a night and saying maybe I should go to treatment, that my work actually started me down the recovery process. So recovery then is just, to me, is that like the question of who am I? But it's not just who am I, it's just like, am I all these things that I make myself out to be? And how do these like serve me in my life? Like, am I a meth addict? Like, is that who I am? Am I an abuser? Is that who I am? Like, I had all this stuff built around me. And I had to work through, is that true? Is this true to me? So to get here has actually been that process of really just letting go more and more parts of myself that no longer serves me. And what I noticed along the way, because we talked about here working back and forth with people, is that I get to share what I learned about myself or my experiences with others. And I find that I'm able to connect to them on a deeper sense. And we form this bond in such a intimate, vulnerable type of situation. And then I left my job, just jump right into it, right? That took a few years, but last year, about a year ago, I just said, you know what, I don't want to do what I'm doing for a living anymore. And I had the opportunity to leave, and with help, I made that choice to say no to them. And over those years of recovery and just being of service to people, it had an effect on my world and the people around me. And that effect is what drew me in to just have the opportunity to sit in front of Gong and say, would you like to play that? If I didn't find myself and if I wasn't a man of service to help people be who they are, feel who they are, I probably wouldn't have had that opportunity to sit in front of that Gong, to build the stands, to sit with you today. I lost my train of thought, but
That's good. That's good.
really, yeah, you can go ahead.
What made you become so committed to this?
Because I like who I am. I love myself. The more and more I let go of things like anger, shame, resentment, fears, things that create suffering in my life, the more I feel alive and I feel light, and that makes me committed. Right? I'm committed to me. I'm committed to growing. I'm committed to just feeling myself. And whenever I reach, it's not even like a mental thought that is saying I'm committing to this. It's just I reach a barrier where there's suffering and I go, I don't want that. And I may stay in it for a bit or it goes away real quick, but like I look at it and I want to just release. I just want to release and just be me so I can live like my best life. And I don't have to worry about what's going on tomorrow or be affected by my own mind, right? I'd rather live true to me because I feel good and it makes me commit. I commit to that. Like, I mean, if I'm being challenged in that sense, I'm gonna face that. Yeah.
I really get the impression that you enjoy the work that you do here now, and it's been very. We've been operating in a way that is not to the public. It's just basically friends and family only. What do you get from doing sessions with people?
Well, I get to be in the presence of a person's truth. I get to be in the presence of a state of compassion when I'm in that. What do I get is just love. When I feel more like me, I'm inspired to do so much in life. I'm inspired to live life. When I'm in session with people and they feel that love or they feel that inspiration and they see or have a release of things that no longer serve them, it's just a light experience where everyone's smiling and we can feel this presence about us that we never had before we came into the room. And just that little bit of glow or energy, or it could be even a lot, but just that little bit, just that's life. And that's the power of life and how it just blooms and it actually makes me want to live more, you know?
Yeah, you've been a catalyst for me in my life and this work. I think working closely with a friend in recovery, right? Because that's where we met first.
Yeah.
We go back to the high school days. We never really knew each other in high school. And, but we knew each other in recovery. And it's so interesting to see us having gone through that recovery portion of our life. And while still being in it, creating this together. Because I certainly wasn't, like, it was almost a practice for me to be able to be comfortable, to be okay with bringing you in. And I think that's like real man talk. You know, I think it's good for guys to talk about stuff like that. You know, and because it's been such a like gift to be able to work with someone like you that like just continuously shows up, right? And like I've been a musician my whole life, and in the same context, you've just started playing the gongs, but one thing I knew about Sacred Sound is, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, is so forgiving of the individual. And that's what I love about me. The gongs were very, very forgiving towards me and how I play. And I guess I can't speak for you and what your experience is with that, but I know that you've done the work on yourself. And I know that you continue to do the work on yourself, you know? And so for me, it's really an honor to be able to sit with another guy and have conversations like this, right? Because how many people, or even how many men do you have in your life that you have conversations like this with?
Myself, I have, I don't know, too many to count, really. That's the great thing about the recovery process and working with men, because like you, we come from the same background, and there's so many more men out there that have that sort of background. And the great thing about this recovery process is that it does create that opportunity for guys like us to do that. So there's quite a few gentlemen that I get to have real deep conversations with about like who we are. Right? And what isn't part of us anymore, or what don't we want a part of us? And is this really me, right? Like these are real deep, magical, vulnerable, intimate, powerful talks that we can have with one another, and it's with another man. And that's what makes it like so special. Yeah. That's a really good segue into this component about recovery and what we're creating here at the center around recovery, because there's the session work that you do and who you are in your session work, and then there's also now going to be a focused area on recovery. And I also think that is such a huge component for the neighborhood that we're in. Like we're in North Central. There's no getting around the fact that we're right on the tip of North Central. You know, I'm not going to go through the statistics about what happens over there, but we all know. Yes. And we're here. And we're here. You know, and but addiction is everywhere. It's not. It's not localized in one specific place. So I'm curious about sort of picking your brain and sort of tapping into what you envision for recovery and what people can look forward to experiencing if they are struggling with addiction and they want to get recovery in their lives. If they know someone that's struggling with addiction and want to get them recovery in their lives. This is something that you're not a stranger to. You've seen it, man. I remember the very first time I heard you speak, and it was at it was out in Indian Head, and I just remember watching you speak, and I was thinking, man, I want to be able to speak like that one day. Because I thought the way that you shared your story was really powerful, you know. And you made a decision.
You made a decision, and ultimately the lineage of those decisions has led you here, right? And now you have an opportunity to platform recovery. You know. So does anything come to mind when we talk about this?
Well, yeah, a few things. I would I'm bringing like recovery for everybody to the center, right? Not just like people with drug use or alcohol use or whatever. Like, I mean, if there's something that's a part of you that you're looking to recover from, this is a safe place that we can hold it. And sometimes, like on our spiritual path, sometimes it's great to work with just another group of people. Like in part of my recovery process, I go to a group, and my favorite group is a group of men, right? It's just fantastic, but it doesn't have to be just a group of men. But I'm gonna bring the same type of environment to this building. I'm gonna bring access for people to come in and just talk about their week or their everyday challenges that happen, because I don't just like go one day, say, I don't want to deal with shame anymore, and it just disappears. It is not that simple. I wish it was, right?
So do I.
Right? You know, I wish that was like so simple, but that seemed to be every day encountering a situation where that feeling or those thoughts would kind of erupt. And it's like forgiving and moving through these things as they come up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just need to talk about that. And I can bring that atmosphere to people in this room, in this group of people, where we can come just be vulnerable and talk about, well, today I had these many challenges, right? And this is how I handle them. And then we could all be vulnerable together. And when that happens, there's such a power and a light that comes from a group sharing.
Yeah.
You can leave happy and just take on the next day.
Yeah. You think shame is a big thing that addicts carry around?
I think...
Or something that addiction yields?
I think I think they go hand in hand with addiction. I don't know about degrees in certain people. I think it depends. It's different with everybody. Some people, like some of the people that I've worked with in the past, it seemed to have worked through it a lot smoother and quicker than, say, myself, right? But I don't know, that could just be whatever. But like, I think it's still, when I work with men and when I work with people in addictions and stuff, it just seems to always be there, whether it be the thing that's visual or if it's the thing lurking underneath what they think is visual. It always just seems to kind of be there.
The shame.
The shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for me that it's been a long path of trying to understand my own shame and work around it. I've had some recent breakthroughs around forgiving myself or judging myself with shame, you know, and being someone that carries shame. For me, that's the beautiful piece of sticking with it, is like, I think the one important thing about having this center is that we now can we have a facility to run meetings out of, right? And which means there's a place for people to go that are struggling and that want to get into recovery, or maybe not even struggling, but just want a better way of life in the area of recovery. That they can focus on that element of recovery in their life. What do you want to say about the importance of having a meeting to go to, a place to meet, more than just once a month? You know what I mean? Being able to, I think, meet consistently for a longer period of time.
Well, I still go to a meeting once a week, right? It's with a group of guys, and I make it. I'm committed to them. I'm committed to me. I'm committed to growing, and I commit myself once a week to be with these group of guys and to talk about these certain things. One of the things is, like, with shame, you can feel alone in it. You can feel utterly alone, isolated, separated from the world. But then you put a bunch of people together and they all start talking about how they feel the same way. It brings a great power to that. To have that access is just more for what we can do for ourselves, for recovery, right? If we don't have anywhere to go, it's going to seem really difficult or deflating to work on ourselves, because sometimes we just need a help. We need a hug. We need just something. It's just something as simple as, yeah, just a hug, and then that. Oh, okay, all right. And now whatever I was holding on to, just sort of released in this moment, and I can just sit and be okay, right? Having access it's a blessing.
I want to bring up a word.
Sure.
I heard this word in recovery. It was the very first place that I learned about this word that I'm about to share with you. It was in recovery.
Okay.
And after being in recovery for a period of time, I first came into the rooms and started seeking recovery in 2006. And I heard a word that I didn't really know too much about. And sitting here today, I know of this word as being something that has the possibility to create everything. It's the word desire. Did you ever know about the word desire when you came into recovery? Or did the word desire just start showing up over a period of time? Because I know that there's a statement around desire, about there just being a desire to want a new way of life.
Yeah.
But the desire is like this component.
Well, you have to have a desire. Like, I mean, the whole idea of me coming to a point of life or death, it was like a desire to not want to die, and pretty much going through the things that I went through is because I didn't want to die, right? That was a desire to live. Then it became more, right? When hope filled my life, when certain things kind of disappeared and I felt myself for a moment and actually knew myself, I liked that. So the desire came to, I want to know more of me, right? Or feel more of me, just be more of me. And so it was just a desire to do that. And I think you got to have a desire when it comes to a recovery sense to want that. The saying is, it just comes from a program and from a tradition. And it just says the only requirement is a desire to stop using. To them, that's the only thing you need to be a part of that group, right? I think the only thing you need for recovery is just a desire to want to recover. Or a desire to, like I said, not die, a desire to not want to feel this anymore. Right? I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't want to think this way anymore, right? Why? They give me all these things that just, I don't want to suffer, right? Even if the desire is, I don't want this, it's still a desire for a change.
So people listening to this, when they hear, I want the desire to just not want to die, like that to them can almost be kind of loaded, like where it's like, that sounds pretty depraved, or that might sound destitute, or that sounds like pretty extreme, right? But I've talked with addicts. I remember visiting a friend in the psych ward, and that was what he said to me was very clear. You know, I got to find a way to not want to die, and that's the way that he said it to me. He didn't say it crying or in this very dramatic way, he was, you know, smoking a cigarette and just telling me that this, I just got to find a way to not want to die, you know? And so for some people, that's where this starts.
Yeah.
And I think there's, and you know what? If that's where your questioning starts, okay, that's where the questioning can start. Somewhere in that questioning is desire.
Is a desire to live.
There is somewhere there. There's the desire is pressing, is pushing, is bubbling. There's somewhere there's the mind is wanting to create something here to move, right? Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way across the pendulum to having a desire when we create something like this space that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And I never saw that in early recovery. And that's why I always found myself back out using, was because I thought that statement, the only requirement is a desire to quit using. I always thought that statement was like so, I never saw the word desire. I read that almost without seeing the word and knowing how transferable that word is to every other component of my life. Mm. You know, and it traverses over into creating from our desire. Mm-hmm. You know, and I just get the impression that you wouldn't do recovery in this facility the way you're going to do it if there wasn't desire there to do it.
No. If I didn't have a desire to do it, then, you know, I'd probably take a look at it and not do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it would just be like work and, like, I mean, desire is also something that comes from, like, a deep, like you said, in the deep soul purpose inside there. Like, I mean, I desire to recovery because it's coming from a place so deep within that that's where the commitment is formed. It is like a part of my heart. Like, let's just say this is the heart and that's the mind of the heart. And it's creating that to go. To bring this to this center comes from that place. Like, I want to share this. I want to share this experience. I want to bring this experience for people to feel that.
So you just said it's coming from a place so deep. That that's where the commitment is formed.
That is.
Yeah. That's powerful.
It's powerful. Because you don't even think about it. That's not even a thought. That's not, I am committed. Right? That's not trying to tell yourself you're committed. That's just from a place of being. Mm-hmm. And a place of doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Nothing's coming to mind.
It's a very interesting space to be able to talk and share in sort of a studio setting, eh? We'll just sit down and talk in the office and we'll go for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We sit down in front of cameras and lights and it's sort of like...
Well, we just kind of go for this, then we feel done, yeah.
Right on, man. Well, it's a pleasure sitting down with you today.
Yeah.
And everybody can look forward to hearing more about this as we roll it out and as dates will become available. And this is a great place to be able to start that conversation on desire, on desire for recovery. Mm-hmm.
Whatever that means. Whatever that means.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Sundance.
Right on, my brother.
All right.
Hey, hello, we're back. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit today about emotional processing. I find sound to be an extremely valuable tool for moving energy, and emotion is energy, right? Emotion is energy that we hold in our body. We hold these stories, we hold these memories, we hold these emotions all through our body. And what I love about the sound is it can really like penetrate and move through you and shake those things up to move. I heard once, and I don't think it's this limited, but I heard once that energy moves through the body in 3 ways: through movement, through breath, through sound. And those are all things that we offer, incorporate, facilitate here. And I love these modalities because they allow us to move out of story, right? They allow us to move out of story and just move energy, just move it, release it. And I really think that, the deeper we go into sorrow, the deeper we get to go into joy. I hear Karen say that a lot. That's something that you say often that really resonates with me.
Yes.
And we're going to speak to that. This is my favorite book. I was gifted this book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, when I was 17 from my first yoga teacher. And there's this passage in it on joy and sorrow that resonates with me so much. I've always been a person that experiences emotional extremes. It's interesting because like if you're one of my students and you just see me in the yoga studio, people are always like, oh, you're so calm. And I'm like, no, God, no. Like I do these practices for a reason, because without them, like I get very ungrounded and things get a little bit crazy. So yes, these practices are really, really amazing for being able to just like drop into your body, move through emotion, again, without having to get into story. And then you can go into these extremes knowing that you're going to be able to get like back to center.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. The more
Yeah.
comfortable I think you get on either side, then you get to reach out there, almost from a place like you're still here, but you're there. But you get to stay here at the same time.
Yeah.
And I know that because I've experienced it. I'm starting to really see that within myself. And I love what you're going to speak to about joy and grief, because from my own experience, if I hadn't gone so deeply into grief in my life, I don't believe I'd be able to spend so much time in joy that I do now.
Yes.
So I love that you brought up this quote, and it's something that I speak to, and I see it as like a big tightrope act.
Yeah.
Like, oh, way out here and way out here. And then you have this beautiful thing that you'd like to share that speaks to that just in a very poetic way, which I love as well.
Yes. I come back to this book frequently, in particular this passage. I pretty much have it memorized at this point, but I brought it because things fall out of my brain if I sometimes don't have them in front of me. But it's about this prophet who is departing from this city, and he's standing on the shore getting ready to get onto the ship, and the people are just mourning because they're gonna miss him, like he's a big piece of this community. And so they're standing there and they're asking him to speak to different things, and a woman comes forward and says, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the selfsame well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. Is not the cup that holds your wine the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven? And is not the lute that soothes your spirit the very wood that was hollowed with knives? When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. And when you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at a standstill and balanced? When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. So I love that reminder. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. That line right there has just carried me through so much, I feel, in my life.
Yeah. I really heard that too. I heard in that, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's this human experience that it is beautiful when you can sit in sorrow and really be with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught, a lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of us are taught to push it down or suppress it or not feel it. But there's so much to be experienced in this human life, in those deep emotions, right? And two, I thought the balance it is, and it, too, they grief and joy are two sides of the same coin as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks to that, right? One doesn't come without the other.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's so funny because when you read it, I get lost because I'm poetry is right? But there's so much beauty in it too, in the way it's spoken.
Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's interesting. I often leave out the verily you are suspended like scales, and only when you are empty are you at a standstill and balanced, because in my mind, I'm no, I want to feel it all, I don't want to just walk that middle line, and be like a stoic monk that is unmoved by everything around me. I want to let it all in.
Mm-hmm.
But today I felt like sharing that because that really struck me when you spoke to, being able to go into this end of grief, yet somehow it's like a piece of you is still here in the middle because you trust you can come back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because before you have that realization or grow that space within yourself, it can feel like, oh my, I'm going to be here forever.
Yeah, this is
there's
life.
no end, right? But I can speak from experience that we do get to a point where you can be in that and be and just fully surrender into it with the trust and a knowing, right? That this isn't forever.
Yeah.
And it opens you up to actually, in the moment, seeing the gift in it. I guess is the best way to put it, the gift, right? The gift in that extreme sorrow or grief.
Because there's so much wisdom and there's so many teachings there. And I think a big part of what we're creating here is creating an environment where we can really be with people and hold people through that process and allow them to go into those experiences, to allow them to go in the depth of their grief or, the height of their joy, which all of that can come up in a sound bath or in breath work or in ceremony, all of that can come through because these instruments, like the sound, the energy, it moves through you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think we'll probably get to more into that in a different point, maybe, or maybe you just need to come experience it because it is really something that just needs to be experienced.
Yeah. And I say what we're creating here, but I think it's the same for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel I'm so devoted to meeting myself in that way because then I get to meet every single person that I'm with in that way.
Yeah.
Right? And this is where we talk about where we want to spend our time and what we want to create. Not what we've been given the message a bunch this past Unplugged from Consciousness, what everybody thinks should be created because of what maybe was in this building before, what's in other spaces, right? Mm-hmm. But we get to decide. And don't get me wrong, I love shenanigans. But the idea that I'm so drawn to going and being in that deep place, I will go on that journey with you to those dark places and be with you in that for as long as it takes. That's the work I feel called to do. And bringing that into this space too. So I don't know what you'd have to share with that.
Yes. I think you just spoke to that very beautifully. Yeah. But that, like I said, I think that is what we're really wanting to create here is creating a safe where people are a space where people have an opportunity to move through those experiences and be seen, be heard, be connected. And loved through it.
And honored through all of it. Every single piece of every single person.
Like wherever you're at,
Yeah.
whatever it is, and just allowing it, you know, like no right, no wrong, no good, no bad, just what is.
Oh, I can feel that. A little tingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I love when you voice that. Yeah, and then too, that it's like when we're with people, it's like all of me. All these light, airy, happy, shenanigan-y, joyous parts, as well as the dark, angry, aggravated, murky parts. All of those parts welcome and love all of those parts in you,
Yes.
right? And I love that. I love that it's just all of it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. What else you got on that? Where are we at? Does that feel pretty complete?
That feels pretty complete to me for now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we complete? Anything else you want to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Ashley and I are going to sit down and have a discussion about something that we both have a common interest in and we both have shared in our life. And I'm very curious about where this conversation's going to go. We both were asked to come up with something that we would want to talk about. And so we both went in ourselves and found something, and she found something pretty cool to talk about. And I'm really looking forward to sharing about that. Maybe you can start us off on this journey.
Absolutely. So I was thinking about the things that we have in common that we could speak to, and I was going through in my mind, I'm like, oh, we both have this interest in astrology, but like I just don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough really to speak to that in any meaningful way. But then it clicked to me. It seemed like such an obvious thing once it dropped in, because we share a common brain wiring. As is common, I believe, like Sundance, you were probably diagnosed with ADHD as a little kid.
Yes, I think it would have been kindergarten or grade 1.
Okay, yeah.
Somewhere around there, young.
Yeah, and that's common with little boys. Little boys with ADHD, their symptoms and behaviors are very externalized as compared to with females where it's often more internalized. The hyperactivity can be a lot more mental than physically expressed. So it's very common for it to go unnoticed in women until they start seeking therapy in their like late 20s, 30s. I think the average age of diagnosis is the mid 30s. I don't have a formal diagnosis because my psychologist that I worked with, I love this about him. He actually doesn't diagnose. He doesn't see ADHD as a disorder. He sees that as a difference. He calls it a nomadic mind, which I love because it just feels more fitting, you know? I don't see why a difference in neurology has to be a disorder. Like, yes, it comes with challenges, but it comes with so many blessings as well. But one thing that really has been an absolute blessing for me in my path over the past few years with the instruments is the effect that they have on my mind state. And I would be curious to know if this is similar for you too, because yes, I describe my typical mind state where even if I'm just like completely still and just like blank faced, there is like a giant library in my mind full of stories, full of information, and there is a massive tornado in the middle just like whoosh, 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 like whipping it all around, right? So there's all this creativity and all this inspiration and all this information, but sometimes to just like grab onto something and then like speak it is hard because you have these books smacking you in the head. And I find that in sound baths, that it's like the sound just comes in and it just stops the tornado. So I can go and I can like pick up a book and I can open it and I can look at it and I can read it and I can make use of the information that is in it in a way that basically only, like it allows me to access a mind state that is very similar to a mind state that I've accessed with ADHD medication. And, you know, I'm not saying whether it's good, bad, right, or wrong for someone to use medication. Like I've had periods of times where I have and periods of time where I haven't, but I just think it's so valuable for us to have these tools, right? Like I think there's so many people out there with this neurodivergence, with this difference that don't even realize how many tools are accessible to them, you know? And I think the sound, the instruments, the crystal bowls could be such a valuable tool for people out there with this similar brain wiring. And I just want everybody to know. I want people to be able to experience that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you said a word that I never heard until just like right now. When we were talking about this earlier, I didn't hear it. Nomadic mind.
Yes.
I clued into that. I'm like, nomadic mind.
Yeah.
Tell me about the nomadic mind, because I have my idea of what like a nomad is, right? And I think nomadic, or when I think about nomadic, is just like wandering, this vastness, right? And then my mind can do that.
100%, yeah.
What does it mean to you?
So what it means to me is the nomad. So yeah, I think of a nomad as, you know, it's a person who moves. You go, you wander to where you're pulled to, right? And that's what the ADHD brain does. You know, it's a dopamine regulation difference. So your brain is always chasing the dopamine. You know, where's the stimulus? Where's the stimulus? Where's the stimulus? That's why you'll see a lot of people with ADHD, like, you know, move or make sound or, you know, stim in different ways and can get distracted by things. So yes, nomadic mind to me is just the wandering mind, where your mind wanders to where it's pulled, which can be so freaking awesome because like creativity, you know, so many good things come when you allow your mind, just when you can just like set it free to wander. Like part of me loves that about myself because like, you know, you can just sit down and be in your own mind and entertain yourself for like freaking hours. But at the same time, if you're expected to sit down and read a textbook or read something that just doesn't interest you, it is very inconvenient because your mind is like, nope, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna go over here. We're not, this isn't interesting to me. So this is where I'm gonna go instead. It's very hard. It feels almost impossible to rein it in to this thing that just really isn't very interesting to you. Like for me, it was math, you know, like I was a kid for a period like where, I was in an enriched English class and failing math because English was interesting to me. So it was like, yes, I can do this, I can focus and I can excel in this. And then math, my brain was just like, nope, no. So my nomadic brain would my teacher would be talking and I'd be staring at the staring at the whiteboard. I wouldn't get in any trouble because I was quiet and I was still and I looked like I was paying attention, but my brain was just like, boop, 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 here, there, and wandering, nomadic,
Yeah. You're summing up what was like elementary school, high school, and trade school for me. I think the only classes that I had in grade 12 was drama and music.
Oh, fun.
Those are the only classes that I had in grade 12. And all the rest I think I was still in grade 9 math in high school. And all of the other classes was like grade 10. I basically like went to high school in grade 9 and left in grade 9, in short. And it wasn't because I couldn't learn, because I've shown myself now that I can learn. It's like the context in which I'm learning by, or the context in which I'm learning from. And that's why I found this nomadic mind a very interesting piece, because for me, music, sound, and the arts have always been something that have captivated and captured my mind. And even when I use that language, like captivated and captured, it gives the element that my mind is moving around in these uncontrollable states that are just off in the distance, right? And when I have sound, or when I have music, or when I sing, my mind there's some type of, feels like something's being regulated in some kind of way, right? It's like there's just presence.
I would imagine there's a term for it called hyperfocus, right? And that's one of the blessings of the ADHD mind state, or of the nomadic mind. I think, everyone can access hyperfocus to a certain extent, but one of the awesome things about this neurodivergence is when you find your thing, when you find your zone of genius, when you find, what truly aligns with you, the amount of focus you can put into that, like it's not, ADHD is such a trash term, like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It is, I feel it's so inaccurate, because there's not necessarily a deficit of attention. It's that the attention goes where it wants.
Yeah.
So
this is the really interesting piece about it. Like when I was in tutor in elementary school, I remember like doing a lot of flashcards, a lot of different tests to test me on, just like where my aptitudes were, where my learning curve dropped off, where attention dropped off. And I went through so many of these simulations that you do in tutorial with flip cards and all this sort of stuff. It's so interesting, like a lifetime later, I'm actually sitting at our home and learning tarot the same way that I actually used to go through flashcards.
Yeah.
But it's different because it has my attention.
Because it interests you.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I think that's why music has always been the great outlet that it has been for me, or sound has always been the great outlet that it has been for me. I mean, I played in bands my whole life. And there was a piece of my life where I didn't do music, I didn't pursue it. I just sort of let it go. And then it came full circle and I ended up finding sacred sound, or sacred sound found me. And I was right back in the pocket again. But there was a different type of independence on that. I think when I played in bands, I always felt like I would always be relying on other people.
Yeah.
Right? And when it came to sacred sound, there was a self-sustaining sort of almost independence there, where I was able to connect with my spirit. I was able to connect with centeredness. I was really all over the place a lot. Like you would clearly be able to tell that I had ADD before. And that's just this thing, right? Like there used to be a song that said, that was back when I went by Justin more officially, but it was like, when Justin starts a fiddling, he reaches for his riddling. And it's so true, because I was on meds for a long period of time in my childhood and teenage years, and to the point of almost developing independency. And that rolled off right into addiction, right? And for sure, now our lives, my life, revolves around the creating of sound and being able to create an atmosphere of presence for people. You know, and the beautiful thing about it is it comes from a place of effortlessness. It doesn't come from a place of like, oh, I got to really like try to find a way to create the atmosphere. I got to find a way to get everyone settled down and sit and just paying it like that. None of that happens. Right? It's sitting down, being with the gongs, being with the drum, being with my voice, and it just all appears, it all arises. And where's ADD? Where's ADHD? Well, it doesn't exist in those moments. And when you brought this conversation up, when I thought about it, it was so interesting because I almost had a hard time identifying with ADD and ADHD, not because it wasn't a part of my life, but because I haven't really experienced it in my life when sacred sound came into my life. You know, I've been out of my, I left my job almost a year ago, and even when I was at my job, the things that I would listen to really kept me focused on my work, kept me present, because I was always listening to audios of things that I was curious about and learning about, like how to build a private practice, different philosophies of music, all sorts of different things. And I was always very interested in it. But before that, when I didn't have an aptitude for my job, or I didn't have depth for this certain types of maths and trig that goes into being a machinist in my previous career, it was really difficult. It was really difficult to stay focused. Everybody else's work being completed before mine created so much anxiety. I created even for myself, just thinking like, everybody's finishing and I'm not even close to being done.
Why is it so easy for them?
Why is it so easy for them, right? And I stayed at it, and I was able to learn. It took a long time, and I think I took myself through a lot more suffering than I needed to, you know. So it feels good to be home here and have this conversation in this place, because of how powerful that, like, seeing that is, you know. But I mean, ADD, I guess the element of what I think it is still does happen. Like, you know, losing my keys 25 times a day, or not knowing where my phone is. Or
it's just how life is. You know, I've really come to just accept that about myself. It's like, you know what? I'm going to break things. I'm going to lose things. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. Yeah.
What, where are you really seeing the use of sound working in this area? Because you started using a gong that Karen said, take home with you and use and play with, right? And you've been really creating an awesome relationship with that sound creation earth gong. Like, have you experienced what you're talking about with these instruments?
Absolutely. Yeah, I experience that stillness and that presence that feels like borderline medication, you know. Taking in sound baths, you know, when I take in the sound, but also just sitting with that earth gong, the vibration is so intense. It just goes through you. And with the crystal bowls, the way I experience it is like the vibration just goes into your brain and just like shakes the thoughts out, you know, just like settles it all like settles the dust and creates this spaciousness and this clarity that is just so soothing and so beautiful, you know? It makes me think of the first time I ever actually like tried an ADHD medication. I was actually quite shocking. I said that I feel like it felt like someone turned off the out of tune radio that had been playing in the back of my mind my entire life. Like someone just went in and whoop, turned it off. And there was silence and stillness and spaciousness. And that is what I experience after like a good session, after a session with the instruments, is that spaciousness and that stillness and that quiet. Whether receiving or playing, it's beautiful.
Yeah, what you're saying about like referencing it where you feel there's meditated and medicated. And like this is sound medicine, you know, and for myself, when I was a little kid, I remember my dad took me to some powwows and I never knew what they were singing when they were singing the songs, but my body knew there was something sacred happening, or there was some type of connection to the sound and the vibration, right? Even though I didn't know what was happening, my body knew what was happening, and my body liked that.
Yeah.
It really appreciated that sound. And that's what I recognize as medicine, you know? And that's the brilliant thing about this. This hasn't happened because, this has happened because this has turned into a medicine. You know, it's not, I don't look at these as just gongs, you know?
It's interesting. Sometimes the word, it just doesn't do it justice, you know? When I'm talking about these instruments to someone, I'm like, oh, you know, a gong bath. It's just the word just doesn't do justice to the experience, you know? And to the potency of what happens. It's just like a gong bath. It's just, yeah.
It's, the word experience is like really, I think about like the Jimi Hendrix experience or something like that, but it's like a sound bath is an experience. You know, it's all kinds of experiences. And I really believe in what comes from these instruments and the people that play these instruments. And I think about the neighborhood that we're in. I think about being here in North Central, you know, and people being able to have access to sacred sound in this way. You know, there's a huge opportunity to serve people with this type of sound medicine, you know. I remember a gentleman after a sound bath who worked for an organization just out of town, and a healing lodge. And after he came out of the gong bath, he said, I just think that this would be really good to help people with trauma, you know? And it's, for me, I think that's really special because I mean, everybody has experienced their own trauma. It's all relative to what people have experienced. My trauma isn't any greater than someone else's trauma. It's relative to the person's experience, and that's what it is. And if people have an opportunity to be in the sound and the body be able to experience the sound, because this thing called trauma happens in life. And after this thing called trauma happens in life in our body, our mind sends all of these crazy messages to try to interpret what's happening in our lives after these traumatic experiences.
And actions to take to move forward.
Yeah. And the sound, the frequency does something beautiful to the body in that way. You know?
Yeah. like I said, I believe earlier with Karen, what I love about it is it allows us to move out of story, you know, like to get out of the story aspect of trauma, of experience. Because yeah, life happens to everybody. We all have our own stuff to work through, you know. But to be able to move out of the story aspect and just allow the sound to move through you, and stuff will come up, you know, memory will come up, experiences will come up, and to be able to drop out of that thinking mind and just feel, let it move, let it move, let it move is so freaking powerful. Mm-hmm. And these instruments will do that for us. Well, with us, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Even like the people watching this, it may or may not come across, but like sitting in this room with the gongs, just looking at them, there's a presence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a presence of being with these instruments.
Yeah.
And when you come into this room, when you come into this space, these instruments really amplify that.
Yeah, there's an energy in each one that is completely unique, and you can feel it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to continue to zone out to that. I think this has been an awesome conversation, Ashley.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing it up. I'm really happy that we were able to talk about it.
I am too. Like I said, I just think it's a really powerful medicine that I just want everybody to know about it. Like, I want everybody to know about it. I want everybody to have access to it, because it has been such a major blessing in my life. Like, it has been so transformational. So yeah, I just want the world to have access.
Yes.
And awareness.
They do. Yeah. They do. Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Peace. Hey, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. This is our third annual Solstice bash, maybe I'll say, Solstice celebration. And we have had an amazing time being able to unveil this wall and be in this space with you. And we are looking forward to an amazing year ahead of inviting everybody into this space to be able to share it with you all, because that's really when it comes to life. So wishing you an amazing holiday season. All is well. Blessings.